A lot has changed since I last covered Dragon Ball's timeline, so it's time for an update from the very beginning. Over 150 million years before the First Age, which is the first calendar year on Earth, the Demon Realm already exists before all of the multiverse, and eventually, the good Supreme Demon King of an unspecified ancient time sought to expand the Demon Realm and ordered the Super Majin Rimus to create the universes. It's hard to be sure just how many universes there were at first, but eventually, that number settled down to 18. These universes were then populated by the residents of the Demon Realm, with certain Glins assigned to watch over them as Supreme Kai, while other Glind ancestors moved to a planet near Rimus himself. We don't currently know for sure if Rimus assigned Zeno and the Grand Priest to their positions, or if Super and Daima's lore are even connected at all, but to simplify this video, we'll assume that Daima's lore is at least somewhat connected, even if the events of the show itself might be separate. This era should also be the time period that the Super Dragon Balls were made by the dragon god Zalama. The divine calendar isn't very well explained, but considering the creation of the Super Dragon Balls happened in year 41 and 42 of the divine calendar, which is extremely early, it should be in this section of the timeline. But them being the original Dragon Balls is in contention since Dragon Ball Daima came out, and we don't know how it connects to Super. So while the Super Dragon Balls are said to be the original Dragon Balls in Dragon Ball Super, the Demon Realm Dragon Balls, made by Neva, are treated similarly as the originals in Dragon Ball Daima. So for us, it's hard to be sure exactly what came first and when, especially since the Demon Realm predates the multiverse and the Super Dragon Balls are found across two universes. But I also think this time period must be when an amazing game was released, because we've heard about it for eons. The fabled Raid Shadow Legends has sponsored this video. We can see Raid just launched a major crossover with an iconic franchise. For a limited time, you can get an exclusive free legendary champion never before seen in Raid inspired by this IP by downloading Raid using my link and logging in for 7 days. Even crazier, the Ultimate Death Knight is back again. This legendary unit has the ability to redirect single target damage, heal by watching enemies heal, and even shuts down opposing legendary champions with provokes, fears, and debuffs. And if you're a new player, this busted champion is completely free, which doesn't happen often in Raid. So don't miss your chance to add him to your list of champions with my link or the QR code on screen and use code UDKING to claim him before he disappears again. I personally played Raid with what my link and promo codes gave me, and I had fun going through the game's story and battling alongside Sun Wukong. More on him in a bit though. If you're a new player, make sure to use my link in the description or scan my QR code because you'll instantly get the epic champion Fayne, and if you reach level 15, you'll get another epic champion, Tayrel. And new players can use one of 6 promo codes to get a legendary champion of their choice. Pick from the codes TREEHUGGER, GETALICE, DESERTQUEEN, DEMONSLAYER, UDKING, or my personal favorite for maybe obvious reasons, the legendary Sun Wukong with promo code MONKEYKING. Once you download using my link or QR code, you can find me in the game under the name Carthu and even join my clan, Carthu's Dojo. Thank you, Raid Shadow Legends, for supporting the channel. Jumping to around 75 million to 150 million years before the First Age, we have some contentious event placements, with Moro's first appearance being 10 million years before his Dragon Ball Super arc, and Majin Buu's first attack being 5 million years before the events of Dragon Ball. You can calculate a minimum age range for both Elder Kai and Beerus. You see, Elder Kai is 15 generations before Shin, but what makes a generation for a Kaioshin? Well, in this case, we have 2 options: 5 million years or 10 million years. Shin clearly wasn't around for Moro's first attack, but Grand Supreme Kai and South Supreme Kai were, both of whom were removed from their positions prematurely by the attack of Majin Buu. So if we use a 5 million year generation, we get a 75 million year old Elder Kai, and with a 10 million year generation, we get a 150 million year old Elder Kai. We also know that Elder Kai was sealed away in the Z-Sword by Beerus, making Beerus a similar age range of 75 million to 150 million years old. Remember though, this range for Beerus is based off of Elder Kai, so it's possible Elder Kai was in Beerus's first Kaioshin. Also important to note that Beerus changes who his life is connected to when a new Kaioshin is appointed, which is why his life is connected to Shin's and not Elder Kai's or Grand Supreme Kai's anymore. This is also the period in time where Namekians are first confirmed to exist in Universe 7. You see, Elder Kai not only knows about the Dragon Balls and Namekians, like he should because they're both from the Demon Realm, but he also tells them to keep their Dragon Balls on their planet, and in this context, that means planet Namek. So while there are still Namekians in the demon realm, as I'll explain later in this video, they clearly traveled to Universe 7 and founded planet Namek sometime before Elder Kai is trapped in the Z-Sword. Finally, this is where I would tentatively place the erasure of universes 13 through 18, as that event seemingly happened in Beerus's lifetime. Next, we have events that take place arbitrarily over 5 million years ago, aka things that happened at some point before Shin was appointed Supreme Kai of Universe 7. All of these events are presumed to have happened before he even became the East Supreme Kai, since he was entirely unaware of them. First, there was a multiversal hide-and-seek tournament where Beerus fell asleep for 50 years, almost costing the multiverse to be erased. This should also be when the events of Abura's reign over the demon realm take place, so this is also when Neva sealed the tunnels between the demon worlds to protect his fellow Namekians. Warp Sama is also created during this time period as an alternate way between the closed-off demon worlds, and is used as a way to control the number of demons fleeing to the outside universes. Then there's Dabura's coup to overthrow Abura by stealing and unintentionally losing the evil third eye before killing his father and taking the throne for himself, which also happens in this time period. Then we have an event that definitely happened 10 million years before the First Age, the previously mentioned first encounter with Moro, where the Grand Supreme Kai seals away Moro's magic in the hopes of stopping the Planet Eater once and for all. This does seem to cost most of the Grand Supreme Kai's godly power though, which is gonna be an issue in 5 million years when Majin Buu, who at some point in this time period was made by Marba in the Demon Realm at the request of Bibidi, attacks the 5 Supreme Kai. While Shin, the East Supreme Kai, manages to escape and live, the others weren't so fortunate. The West and North Supreme Kais were killed, while the South Supreme Kai and the Grand Supreme Kai were absorbed by Buu, forced to remain alive, but left in a perpetual slumber. Afterwards, Bibidi goes on to destroy hundreds of worlds, but Buu was too much for him to control all the time, so when he needed a break, he would seal the monster. Eventually, Earth became Bibidi's next target, and the sealed Buu was brought there. Luckily, Shin was able to kill Bibidi before Buu could be released again, and Majin Buu was left sealed in a shell on Earth. Shin didn't dare to move the creature in case it would break the seal. That's right, the coolest thing Shin has ever done was off-screen. Then we jump forward a lot to only thousands of years before the First Age, when the remaining Namekians escape the demon realm despite the traveling restrictions. This leads to those in charge not understanding where they went, with only Neva left behind to look over the demon realm Dragon Balls, and to him not seeing another Namekian in thousands of years. Then, roughly 200 to 300 years before the First Age, based on Vegeta's 1,000-year statement, the first Super Saiyan, Yamoshi, appears. He is not a Super Saiyan god like some people incorrectly say, but I've already covered that in other videos. Yamoshi rebelled against the increasingly evil other Saiyans alongside 5 comrades. When the rebellion was failing and his back was against the wall, he transformed into the first Super Saiyan, wiping out countless opposing Saiyans before eventually running out of energy and being killed. After Yamoshi's death, his soul wandered the universe in search of 6 Saiyans to perform the ritual to make the Super Saiyan God. But if we jump over a universe, this is also when the legendary Saiyan of Universe 6 would appear, though it's unclear if this was the first one or just the one before Kale. This should also be the era that the non-canon special episode of Bardock takes place, where Bardock is somehow sent back in time and becomes the Super Saiyan of legend by defeating Chilled, an ancestor of Frieza. Also during this time period, but more specifically 220 years before the First Age, Hit is born in Universe 6. I'm not going to cover many birth years in this video, but this one is fairly interesting since it was intentionally mentioned. Age 1 is the first calendar year on Earth, but besides that, we don't really know much about it. So we can jump straight to age 261, which is when the storm that ravaged planet Namek occurs. One Namekian named Kata sent his child to Earth in a spaceship to save him from the devastation. This was the nameless Namekian, who would eventually become Kami and Piccolo. In age 450, Master Roshi begins his training with Master Karin, and in age 451, King Kai and Beerus had their last meeting before Battle of Gods, which seems to be when Beerus lost a game of hide-and-seek, shrinking King Kai's planet in the process. I'm just saying, at this point, maybe we don't invite Beerus to hide-and-seek anymore. In age 453, Roshi is finally able to obtain the sacred water, thus completing his training with the god of martial arts. Age 461 is the year that Kami becomes Kami, the god of Earth. The title Guardian of Earth is just a dub thing to avoid the use of religious connotations. This would also be around the time that he dispelled his evil half from his body in the form of Piccolo Daimao, which is why this is the same year King Piccolo was sealed by Master Mutaito, the martial arts master who originally trained Master Roshi and Master Shen, who dies as a result of using the sealing technique. With King Piccolo finally sealed, Master Roshi makes sure to personally bury the rice cooker containing the Demon King deep in the ocean floor where it can hopefully never be opened again. Then, 9 years into being Earth's god, in age 470, Kami creates the Dragon Balls, something he does to fulfill some sort of racial memory as opposed to making them entirely from his own design. Then, sometime around age 550, planet Sadala, the original home of the Saiyans, is destroyed in a Saiyan civil war. With no world left to call home, the Saiyans invade planet Plant. Eventually, they conquer the new planet and make it their new home, with the finishing touch being to rename the world Planet Vegeta. Then, 100 years later, in age 650, we have the very first Tenkaichi Budokai on Earth. At this point, the new tournament series was scheduled to happen once every 5 years, as it wasn't as popular as it would become later on. While this may not seem too important, this event's inception sets up many of the most important story events in the entire series, which lets us go straight to the 700s, where basically the entire series takes place. Just know, I won't be talking about the arcs in too much detail here because this isn't a summary video, and you've already seen the series, right? Right? Let's start with age 732, where we get the birth of Dragon Ball Super's Broly and Vegeta the Fourth. Remember, Vegeta is 5 years older than Goku, and it's even reaffirmed in the movie as well, so while Broly and Vegeta were next to each other in their pods, Goku was yet to even be conceived. This year also marks the retirement of King Cold, and the transition of leadership to his son Frieza, who is now in charge of the Saiyans. This is also when Broly's power is deemed to be too big a threat to King Vegeta's rule, and so he's exiled to planet Vampa. His father Paragus following closely behind him on a stolen ship with Beats on board, though Beats is ultimately killed once Paragus discovers they're trapped on planet Vampa and they need to conserve resources until they're rescued. Then, 5 years later, in age 737, Goku is born, and alongside him is the Dragon Ball Z version of Broly. But unlike what most people think, this likely isn't when planet Vegeta is destroyed in the main continuity, though it remains that year in the Broly and Cooler movie timelines, as well as in Dragon Ball Z Bardock, the father of Goku, which is now non-canon and happens during this year as well. In between age 737 and 740, we have the conquering of planet Cereal, Bardock's first act of kindness, sparing Granola, Muesli, and Monaito, as well as his fight and victory over Gas. Then we get to age 740. In Dragon Ball Minus, Goku was stated to be in his incubator for 3 years, so that would mean the destruction of planet Vegeta would be in age 740, but Dragon Ball Super Broly doesn't say anything about how long Goku's been in the incubator for, so it is possible that the date of planet Vegeta's destruction has been reverted back to his birth year, which is good, since Goku can't know his age if he doesn't land on Earth the exact year he was born. But it still doesn't really work because of a certain fish and a certain prophecy. You see, Beerus receives the prophecy of the Super Saiyan God from the Oracle Fish 39 years before the events of Battle of Gods, which would be age 739. And since Beerus didn't know if Frieza destroyed the Saiyans while he was asleep or not, the destruction of planet Vegeta in age 740 still makes sense, or at the very earliest 739 if we just use the prophecy and ignore Minus entirely. Regardless of if it's 739 or 740, this time period is when all of Dragon Ball Minus happens, and it's also when Jocko the Galactic Patrolman, the actual comedic prequel series, takes place. In between age 740 and age 749, we have the death of Grandpa Gohan at the hands of Goku. Notably, Gohan knowing of the Ozaru's existence implies he saw and survived it at least once, which should mean he was either caught off guard or let himself be killed, either being extremely tragic. This is also the time period when Bulma creates the Dragon Radar and collects the 2- and 5-star Dragon Balls on her own. According to the Daizenshuu, she found the 2-star Dragon Ball in her basement and the 5-star Dragon Ball in a cave north of West City. In age 749, the entire Pilaf arc up to Goku training with Roshi takes place. Goku meets Bulma, Roshi, Oolong, Yamcha, Puar, Chi-Chi, the Ox King, and Krillin this year. This is also the year of the very first wish on the Dragon Balls in the entire series, which is extremely important in-universe and out. despite what was wished for. Then in age 750, a lot happens. It starts with the rest of Goku and Krillin's training, the entire 21st Tenkaichi Budokai, which Goku loses to Jackie Chun, and the entire Red Ribbon Army arc. Importantly, this is the arc where Goku trains with Master Karin, the god of martial arts, and reunites with Grandpa Gohan for one final time, when excluding anime filler, that is. The events of this year end when Goku goes to travel the world for 3 years to train for the 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament. Now this is where our first time skip happens, and while I am talking about non-canon Dragon Ball Z movies and GT and even the specials, I'm not going to talk too much about anime filler because the anime already muddies the timeline enough without adding in the filler that disconnects from how the manga events played out. So just keep in mind that every time there's a time skip, there was probably an anime filler arc of some kind. So in between age 750 and 753, Goku is traveling around the world and training as instructed by Master Roshi. Krillin and Yamcha train under Master Roshi directly to prepare for the tournament, and Roshi trains in secret as well to re-enter the tournament under the alias of Jackie Chun. Finally, age 753 encompasses the entirety of the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai, which Goku once again loses, but this time to Ten Shinhan. It also contains the entirety of the Piccolo Daimao arc, ending with Goku beginning his training on Kami's lookout. This year also includes the first deaths and resurrections of Krillin, Master Roshi, and Chaozu. Once again, we have a 3-year time skip till the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai. Between age 753 and 756, Goku trains with Kami and Mr. Popo to defeat the reincarnation of King Piccolo. At the same time, below the lookout, Ten Shinhan, Krillin, Yamcha, and Chaozu climb Karin's tower to train with the god of martial arts, eventually leaving the tower to travel the world and train on their own to refine what they've learned. Once we reach age 756, Piccolo Jr. and Goku have their final battle, ending in Goku's victory and his first ever win at a Tenkaichi Budokai. This is also the year that Goku and Chi-Chi get married and make rice together. Wait a second. The next year, age 757, is when Gohan is born, specifically May 18th, according to the Daizenshuu timeline. This is, of course, during another time skip, the 5-year time skip between the end of Dragon Ball and the beginning of Dragon Ball Z. So in between age 756 and 761, Yamcha and Bulma break up, Ten Shinhan trains while traveling the world, and Lunch chases after him, never to be seen again. Once we're out of the time skip, we're in age 761, which is the year Dragon Ball Z Dead Zone takes place. Since I'm covering things outside the main continuity in this video, let me explain that things like the Dragon Ball Z movies or the Bardock special I mentioned earlier have their own unseen timelines after branching off from the main continuity. More importantly, this is the year that Raditz attacks the Earth and is killed by Piccolo. Goku sacrifices himself so Raditz would die, and so he also dies for the first time. The year ends with Ten Shinhan, Krillin, Yamcha, Chaozu, and Yajirobe training with Kami and Mr. Popo before traveling the world to train on their own with what they've learned. A trend in Dragon Ball if you haven't noticed. At the same time, Goku travels Snake Way, but due to Raditz arriving at the end of age 761, he doesn't finish his journey this year. I am using the Daizenshu's timeline as a basis for the majority of this video, but it takes some creative liberties when trying to make things work between the anime, manga, and movies that I'm not really looking to make here. So just know when I deviate from this timeline, it's because it doesn't really fit with what the manga actually says. So things like the humans training with Kami in 762 and not 761 isn't really reflected in the manga at all. If anything, it's implied they started training a few days after Goku's death. Just wanted that to be clear going forward. Now we move to age 762, which is the year Goku finally arrives on King Kai's planet to train, learning the Kaioken and Genki Dama during this time. The Z-Fighters continue their training until Nappa and Vegeta arrive on Earth. The rest of the Saiyan arc takes place, and this arc marks Goku's first revival. Yamcha, Ten Shinhan, and Piccolo die for the first time, while Chaozu dies for the second time, meaning Earth's Dragon Balls can't revive him. Goku arrives at the battlefield and defeats Nappa, who's killed by Vegeta. In the later half of the year, the entire Frieza saga takes place, as well as the Super Saiyan form reappearing for the first time since Yamoshi. Vegeta dies and is revived for the first time. All the Namekians die and are revived, though the Grand Elder dies again shortly after being revived. Notably, Namekians of Elder Suno's village aren't revived due to them being killed by Vegeta. This is also when Krillin is killed for the second time and Piccolo is revived for his first. And that's without even talking about the tangential movie continuities, because World's Strongest, Tree of Might, and Lord Slug all took place in this year as well, each in their own pocket timeline thing. In the following year of age 763, Cell arrives in the main timeline in Future Trunks' time machine, which was pre-programmed to arrive in this age for some unexplained reason. During this year, Yamcha and Ten Shinhan are revived for the first time, Chaozu and Krillin are revived for the second time, and importantly, all revivals were done with the use of the Namekian Dragon Balls. Afterwards, the Namekians leave Earth for New Namek though. Going to age 764, Future Trunks arrives and kills Frieza, giving him his first death and killing King Cold as well. Goku arrives back on Earth and is informed about the threat of the androids by Trunks, kicking off the Cell Saga. But not just yet, because with time travel, there's a future timeline to talk about. In age 764 of the future timeline, Goku uses instant transmission to teleport to Earth, and he kills Mecha Frieza and King Cold on his own. In both timelines, we have another 3-year time skip from age 764 to 767. In the main timeline, everyone trains. Notably, Vegeta doesn't train in space like the anime mistakenly shows, but instead, he trains in the newly built gravity room on Earth that he requested. Goku, Piccolo, and Gohan train together, and in the manga, Goku is a Super Saiyan for this training. In both timelines though, age 766 is the year that Trunks is born. But later this year in the future timeline, Goku dies of the heart virus due to a cure not existing yet. Then things get hectic for both timelines in age 767. This is the year that Mr. Satan earns the title of Strongest Under the Heavens by winning his first Tenkaichi Budokai, the 24th. It's unclear if he won the tournament in both timelines or just the present, but let's assume he won it in both. Now let's quickly get the Dragon Ball Z movies out of the way with Cooler's Revenge, Super Android 13, The Return of Cooler, Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan, and BoJack Unbound all taking place this year in their own pocket continuities. To quickly cover the future timeline, this is when androids 17 and 18 appear, killing all the Z fighters except future Gohan, who barely survives and with Bulma's help tries to gather the Dragon Balls to fix things before Piccolo dies. But they're too late as the Pilaf gang uses the Dragon Balls to wish to be young again. Then Piccolo dies and so does Kami, making the Dragon Balls inert permanently. In the present, the events of the Cell Saga take place. Notably, the introduction of forms beyond Super Saiyan, like the Super Saiyan Grades and Super Saiyan 2. This is also when Kami and Piccolo merge into one again, with Kami being replaced by Dende as the God of Earth, so they'll still have Dragon Balls. This is also the first death and revival of Future Trunks and Android 17. But more importantly, this was Goku's second death. Even if Earth's Dragon Balls could revive him. They can't, by the way. He wants to stay dead since he feels like he attracts threats to the Earth, and also believing that Gohan is more than capable of protecting the world in his absence. Then, at some point later this year, Goten is born. In between age 767 and 774, a lot happens off screen, like Krillin and Android 18 getting married in age 770 and their daughter Marin being born in age 771. At some point, Goku and Vegeta teach themselves Super Saiyan 2, with Goku going further beyond and creating Super Saiyan 3. And now we're in age 774. Let's start with the movies this time, which include Broly Second Coming, Bio Broly, Fusion Reborn, and Wrath of the Dragon. More importantly, this is the year that the Buu Saga takes place. This year has Mr. Satan win his second Tenkaichi Budokai ever, the 25th. Notable events to keep track of here are Vegeta's second death and his sacrifice against Buu, and Goku's second revival, and Elder Kai's first death, sacrificing his life to revive Goku. The entire Earth is destroyed by Buu along with everyone on it. The only ones to escape are Mr. Satan, Dende, Goku, and Vegeta. This time it's easier to say who didn't die. The Earth is later restored with the Namekian Dragon Balls alongside all of those who died, including characters that died directly to Buu. Also, Vegeta gets revived, and even Elder Kai. It's important to remember that Porunga doesn't have Shenron's revival limit, so he was actually able to revive everyone with this wish. 1 year later, in age 775, we have the events of Dragon Ball Daima, as made clear by Trunks' 9th birthday party at the beginning of the series. This is not a video about Dragon Ball's main continuity or canon, because that deserves its own video, so just know it's possible, and I'd argue even likely, that Daima isn't connected to Dragon Ball Super, so this might be a branch continuity coming off of the Buu Saga, just like Dragon Ball Super is. Hopefully we'll get more clarity on that and definitive answers in the future. Anyway, 1 year after that, we have the 2008 Yosun Goku and Friends Return special that takes place in age 776, which can be regarded as part of the main Dragon Ball continuity, as it reveals to us that Vegeta has a living relative in the form of his younger brother, Tarbal, who is casually mentioned in Dragon Ball Super Broly, as well as this being the introduction of Goku Goku's job as a radish farmer, but more importantly, Toriyama's direct involvement in the creation of this OVA story. After the OVA, another 2 years pass before we get the Battle of Gods arc in age 778. This year is the first time the Super Saiyan God has ever occurred. According to a Toriyama interview, there's no longer an original Super Saiyan God, only an original Super Saiyan, but I cover all that in a different video. This is the year that Beerus finally wakes up after going to sleep for 39 years, and it's also assumed that this is the year that Gohan and Videl got married. Then in age 779, we have another busy year. It begins in the Resurrection of F arc, when Goku and Vegeta begin to train under Whis. Vegeta and Goku learn how to use Super Saiyan God at will and merge it with their Super Saiyan form to make Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, aka Super Saiyan Blue. Frieza is revived for the first time, only to be killed for the second time, but not before training and creating a new transformation, Golden Frieza. This is also when the very underwhelming third death of Piccolo happens, and his revival takes place sometime this year as well, off screen. It's important to note he was revived with the Namekian Dragon Balls, since Earth's Dragon Balls can no longer revive him. Next is the Universe 6 Tournament arc, which is the first introduction of the multiverse to most of the main cast who are from Universe 7. Universe 7 wins the tournament against Universe 6, the reward being the Super Dragon Balls for Beerus, who used them to revive the Earth in Universe 6 for his brother. During this arc, Zeno is in Universe 7 for the first time we ever know about. Just so you're aware, the anime has a use of Shenron before the tournament with Universe 6, which would push all of Super forward 1 year, but that seems like a Toei mistake, and I wouldn't take it too seriously. Remember, the Dragon Ball started working again after only 8 months in original Dragon Ball, so an early Shenron use has happened before. Then Future Trunks returns to the main timeline once again, the entirety of the Future Trunks arc happens, the main timeline ends up with another Zeno as a result of the destruction of Trunks' timeline, the Zamasu of the main timeline dies here before gaining immortality, and finally this is also the arc that introduces Super Saiyan Rose and Super Saiyan Ikari, at least in the anime, to the series. Then we get to age 780. The easiest thing to mention is in the future timeline, this is the year that future Gohan is finally killed by the androids, leaving Trunks as the sole protector of that timeline. In the main timeline, the Tournament of Power happens. This arc results in the erasure and revival of universes 2, 3, 4, 6, 9, 10, and 11. Frieza also has his second revival in this arc. This is also the time that we see Super Saiyan Blue Evolution, the presumed grade 2 variant of Super Saiyan Blue, as well as Super Saiyan Berserker, Ultra Instinct Sign, and Ultra Instinct. This is also the year that Bra is born. Later in the year, Broly and Paragus are found on Vampa by Chilai and Lemo, kicking off the events of Dragon Ball Super Broly. This is the first time we see the Ikari form, not to be confused with the previously mentioned Super Saiyan Ikari, and Broly's full-powered Super Saiyan, not to be confused with the official name of Super Saiyan Grade 4. With that, we get to the manga-only arcs, with the ancient evil Moro freeing himself from prison. Now, these Dragon Ball Super manga arcs require a bit of speculation to put into their place on the timeline, so I'll try my best to justify why I place them where I do. While the Moro arc likely starts in age 780, it possibly extends into age 781. We know that some time has passed. People think the arc starts right after the end of Dragon Ball Super Broly due to Goku teleporting back to Earth, seemingly following the end of the movie where he leaves Vampa, which is fine, but there's an unspecified amount of time between Broly being teleported back to Vampa and Goku checking in on him. There's also a 2-month training section in the middle of the arc, so that's why many, including myself, believe it bleeds into age 781, especially considering how much has already happened in age 780. Then the Granola arc gets even more confusing. The arc starts a few months after the Moro arc. Then later, a few weeks pass, then time passes, which is the worst, because saying some time passed is used to say there was a 4-year time skip between the Buu Saga and Battle of Gods at the beginning of Dragon Ball Super. Personally, I think this is a bigger time skip than people make it out to be because of the Granola arc's ending happening at the same time as the events of Superheroes beginning. That would mean, even though we first see Granola in age 781, the arc itself shouldn't conclude till mid to late age 782. This will make more sense as we move into Superhero though. You see, there's a 9-month gap in Dragon Ball Super Superhero, the 3-month prison sentence of Dr. Hedo, and the 6 months afterwards that he used to create the Gammas in Cell Max. So the events of Dr. Hedo's arrest by Goten and Trunks likely still occur in age 782, while the major events of the movie and arc, like the battle against Cell Max or Goku and Vegeta's sparring match, take place in age 783. This is why Granola has to have a bigger time skip than we thought, especially since everyone hasn't seen Goku or Vegeta in a long time, and more importantly, Pan's age means that the major events of this movie or arc have to happen in age 783. But that's not where the timeline ends. The main timeline, for now, ends 1 year after Dragon Ball Super Superhero in age 784, when the 28th Tenkaichi Budokai takes place and Goku leaves the tournament early to train Oob, who is the reincarnation of Kid Buu. The future timeline also continues, as this is the year future Trunks uses the time machine to go to the past and warn of the incoming android threat. Age 785 is when we get a new timeline to talk about, Cell's timeline. In Cell's timeline, future Trunks returns to use the blueprints of the androids he found in the main timeline to deactivate and destroy them. In the future timeline, future Trunks comes back after the defeat of Perfect Cell, leading to him killing the androids with his own power. Age 788 is when Cell awakens in both timelines. In the future timeline, Trunks is strong enough to kill him outright, but in Cell's timeline, Trunks is no match for Cell, leading to him being killed and Cell stealing the time machine to absorb androids 17 and 18. Age 789 in the non-canon version of the main timeline is the year that Dragon Ball GT begins. I'm sure some of you don't know this, but GT actually takes place 5 years after the end of Z, not 10 like the dub says. This includes the entire hunt for the Black Star Dragon Balls, the birth of Super Saiyan 4, the defeat of Baby, and the death of Piccolo. In age 790, the 30th Tenkaichi Budokai takes place with Mr. Satan as the champion once again. This year also encompasses the entirety of the Super Android 17 and Shadow Dragon arcs, and notably the departure of the Dragon Balls, Shenron, and even Goku from Earth. Sometime around age 795 in the future timeline, future Trunks is trained by Supreme Kai. They face off against Babidi and Dabura, stopping the resurrection of Majin Buu, but at the cost of Supreme Kai's life and subsequently Beerus's life as well. This is also the year in the anime that Goku Black goes around killing all the Supreme Kais of every universe, leading to the death of every god of destruction and the deactivation of every angel. Then in age 796, the events of the future Trunks arc play out in the future timeline, which is the majority of what you watched or read. This year marks the end of the future timeline as Zeno completely erases the whole timeline. Notably, 2 other timelines are created as well. A branch of the main timeline where Beerus doesn't erase Zamos, and a branch of the future timeline before Goku Black appears that future Trunks and future Mai choose to live in, alongside their alternate timeline counterparts. Finally, age 889 is the year that Dragon Ball GT A Hero's Legacy takes place, as well as the very end of GT's final episode, with Goku Jr. and Vegeta Jr. fighting at the 64th Tenkaichi Budokai, thus wrapping up our timeline with the return of the Dragon Balls, Shenron, and even Goku to Earth. Remember to download Raid Shadow Legends with my link or QR code if you haven't yet to secure some limited time in-game rewards. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. A big shout out to the members on the screen behind me, and thank you so very much for watching.